Right. Assalamu alaikum to everyone who's tuned in. This is the latest episode of Modesty Table. My name is Shreen Mahmood and I'm your host. And we've got the amazing sister Thaminah Aziz with us. Assalamu alaikum. How are you doing?
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good too, alhamdulillah. You know what? The sun's been out. As you can see, we've got some sunshine coming this way, and in the background, we can see your sunshine as well. So you know what, we're really excited to be speaking to you. I'm just going to share a quick little bit of info, guys. If you haven't already, head over to our YouTube channel and make sure you go and subscribe. So that's the World Hijab Day YouTube channel. Of course, Modesty Table is powered by World Hijab Day organization. You can go find out some more information about how to get involved with World Hijab Day through the website, which is worldhijabday.com. And of course, our details will be shared in the description. So if you would like to connect with me and Sister Thaminah, all the information is there. But let me tell you a little bit about Sister Thaminah. Obviously, we can see quite clearly she chooses to wear the niqab, the face veil. That's not the only thing about Sister Thaminah. Of course, she is a keen advocate for women's rights. She works throughout the community supporting vulnerable women. She's recently set up her own, she's in the process of setting up her own charity foundation called Sakeenah Foundation, and so much more. I think we met through Facebook, social media, and since then we've just always got on so well. And it's so important for us to, women are stronger together. Empowered women empower each other, and I think this is exactly what I would describe Sister Thaminah as. So again, a warm welcome to Sister Thaminah. How you doing? And we've already said that, but tell me, how's it going? How's lockdown treating you?
Oh, Alhamdulillah. For someone who's a bit of an introvert and a homebody, the lockdown has been okay for me. I'm getting on, keeping myself busy, apart from, with the daily routine, ibadat, but also with, as you mentioned, with Sakeenah, setting it up as a charity. That's, taken up a lot of my time, alhamdulillah. And then, of course, studying, alhamdulillah. So, somewhat it's been okay, alhamdulillah. There are times that they were, struggling mentally, anxiety, the unknown. But alhamdulillah, after that little bump, Allah has, looked after me during this time.
SubhanAllah. I think a lot of people are experiencing ups and downs right now. So, I mean, a message from myself and from Sister Thaminah: keep positive, take your rest, take, the break that you need. Don't overwork yourselves. Do not, think that, right, that's it, I've just got to keep going. Take a rest. Don't burn out. So I think that's super important. So, I've got to ask the big question of the show is always to all the sisters that we, interview from all around the world. You choose to wear the face covering. Are you oppressed?
No, alhamdulillah. It's been the opposite. To start off my journey with, wearing the veil or the niqab, has started at a very young age, age 13, 14. And bear in mind that it was my own choice, and my mum was supportive, even though she did not understand why such a young girl would be wearing a niqab. It's such a huge responsibility. And she thought, she thought she will allow me to experiment with it, experience it, and thought a week later or two. And here, subhanAllah, I'm still wearing my niqab, haven't taken it off, haven't ever thought of taking it off, alhamdulillah. And, may Allah protect me and then continue to wear the niqab and hopefully break the glass ceiling with it.
Amazing. I mean, look, here at World Hijab Day, we discuss all the time about, women who choose to wear the hijab. It's not often we get a sister who wears the niqab, available for us to speak to. So we're so lucky to be speaking to you. You are our first niqabi, right? So I'd love to hear a bit more about the experience and, the reasons why, as well. We hope that we can create an understanding for, wider society and the Muslim community about niqab and our sisters who choose to wear the face veil. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Jazakallah khair, first and foremost. It started off more of spiritual. It's the guidance with wearing the niqab, obviously with difference of opinions. I chose to wear it to get closer to Allah. That was the only means for it. And then I will continue to wear it for that pure intention, inshallah. But then obviously with the physical aspect that I've experienced with niqab is that, I haven't, alhamdulillah, faced Islamophobia with it. But what I've actually experienced with the niqab is a bit more respect. I'm able to get my points across very well. People tend to listen. It's given more of a platform for me to voice out, concerns and opinions and ideas. And because of the physical aspect that they can't judge me on my face, they have to listen to what I have to say. Alhamdulillah, in that sense. Of course, it doesn't mean that, Islamophobia doesn't exist and sisters who wear niqab don't get attacked. One of the new term for it I've experienced is I got more of a backlash wearing a niqab within the Muslim community. That was and it was normally either classmates, friends, people who did not understand, not as a young girl, but also a young woman, why I chose to wear the niqab. Some people said I was doing it for cultural reasons. There was others who said, it does not exist in Islam. At the end of the day, it's differences are always going to be there. But we have to ensure that we respect each other's decisions and respect the differences, because it's the differences that come together will make who we are. And unfortunately, I experienced it more within the Muslim South Asian communities.
I mean, it's so sad to hear that. But again, I mean, I think this is why it's so important to, have you on with us. What kind of, what are the misconceptions do you feel around niqab, and what's, what do you wish people would understand? I know you've mentioned that, that the differences of opinion, for example. Do we strip it back all the way to almost like the concept of feminism? We choose what we wear, we should be able to have that right. They push that quite a lot. Unfortunately, it seems to stop when it comes to hijab and niqab, right? So what do you really wish people would understand about the niqab?
It's that, behind the niqab, there is a story that's waiting to be told. There's a voice that's waiting to be heard. But we don't want to be judged on our either physical looks. We want to be judged on who we are. And unfortunately, whether it be feminism or, misogynistic ideologies, we always been at the battle, in the middle of it all. People judge people who wear niqab that they are oppressed, they're being forced, they don't have. But within the Western countries, you've seen a rise of young women and girls are choosing to wear niqab because it gives them that freedom. It gives them that control, that this is my choice. And those are the misconceptions that, if you see a niqabi on, whether in the cafe, in the park, approach her and speak to her and see what she has got to say beyond the niqab itself.
It's so nice that you've mentioned that. I mean, do you find that people are able to come up to you? Are they quite friendly? Do they just ask you? Because I know, unfortunately, I've heard quite a few things, within the community. I've heard niqabis be called, unfriendly, and they're very stuck up, for example. And of course, I mean, personally, I've never found this, and alhamdulillah, I know quite a few sisters who do choose to face cover, if not all the time, some of the time, when they're traveling abroad, etc. So, I mean, what do you make of that?
when people have approached me, we start up a kind of conversation and they realize that I have a voice. I'm actually, born in this country. I can speak English and, a bit of humor, a bit of sarcasm. And then they feel a bit more open-minded to the idea that there is someone behind the niqab. And there is the kind of also, at the end of the day, niqabis are also human. And we can't, stereotype that all niqabis are stuck up. There are going to be people who are going to be stuck up. Generally, there are going to be people who are, love feeding into their ego, narcissistic tendencies within them. And, we can't expect, and I think it's also with the hijabis, is that we expect straight away piety from them. We expect them to be at the top level tier, and we hold them at a certain expectation. And when we're shocked by their behavior, and trust me, I've received that kind of behavior myself as a niqabi from another niqabi. You kind of take back and realize that's not the niqab, or the reason why they chose to wear the niqab was to hide. Is more of who they are as a person. And we take whatever from that, and we need to put that to one side and not attach it to the niqab or the hijab itself.
For sure. I mean, you don't have to be one way inclined to be, a really nice person or a really not so nice person, right? So you're right. Stereotypes is something that we should really work on. How about, what's the funniest thing you've ever been asked about the niqab?
Can I breathe under there? Can I actually breathe under there? And this is like pre-COVID stuff, like when I was younger. And I was like, I can breathe. It's not suffocating me. There is room. You do understand how oxygen works. It's in that term,
And it's quite a loose covering, isn't it, actually?
Yeah, it is. It's quite useful in that sense, if we all think about it. But that was one of the things. One of the challenges niqabis have is that, how do we eat? When we go to restaurants and things like that, how do we eat?
So, public.
It's like we take the food home. We don't tend to eat in the restaurants itself, or for some of us, we ask for a place or in a corner of a restaurant where there's no ghair mahram, non-mahram, or they provide a shield where we can eat comfortably and take our niqab off after they serve the food. So those are the two things that, and I think I still get them now, that, oh, can you breathe under there? I'm like, can you breathe in your mask?
I'm so glad you've mentioned this, because this was one of my questions. How did you feel, with COVID and, the social distancing rules and covering your face, etc.? How did you feel when that guideline was, was announced and everybody all of a sudden had to cover their face?
I think the irony of it all is that those who are very against Islam, Islamophobic, and they're wearing the mask, and when a certain prime minister mentioned niqabis being letterboxes, and I'm like, well, aren't we all niqabis now, right? It's been like imposed on
the bank robbers. Don't forget the bank robber comment. That it's not, you can't understand what the person is saying because she wears a face covering, these type of sentiments. And now we've all, to be honest, we've got used to wearing face coverings. And my personal experience with wearing a mask, and then even the way the niqab is covering, this is what I was saying, it's quite a loose thin piece of material. It doesn't really prevent you from breathing, or it doesn't sort of it doesn't give me the word in our language is khafki. It doesn't give you that sort of claustrophobic feeling, whereas the mask that everybody's wearing, the blue white one, that one now is quite restricting. It can be, because if it's too tight, then obviously as hijabis and niqabis, we can't put it around our ears unless we fiddle around under the scarf, etc., etc. So in the grand scheme of things, I thought this was quite, it really did give everyone a chance to experience that. And to be honest, what did you feel about? Did you get quite a bit of a positive response, or I know there was an article here in the UK in one of the newspapers actually about a Caucasian lady who felt quite liberated by
Yes.
wearing the face covering, by wearing the mask even. And she said that, look, I don't have to put makeup on. I can just go, and I don't feel self-conscious about anything, and I'm a lot more confident. So that was crazy, right? Coming from somebody who isn't a Muslim, and that was quite interesting.
It was quite interesting, but I feel like that's what a lot of niqabis and hijabis been trying to say, that we are liberated. It goes beyond
We are
the
not oppressed, right? We're not oppressed. That's
we're
what
not
everybody wants to say.
we are able to, push boundaries because we're not being judged on whether we're tired or whether we wore too much makeup, things that come along with in the society that we live in. And when I started seeing everyone wearing niqab, everyone started wearing the mask.
We niqabified everyone here, okay? So we've niqabified everyone.
And then what happened is like with my sisters and family, they're all wearing, and I'm sitting there, and my mum also wears the niqab, and we're both just like laughing our heads off, thinking we don't have to change a thing. This is so normal for us that it doesn't feel any different. But seeing everyone in mask was just, I think, got to be the most, I think, hilarious, but also quite liberating moment for all of us, especially when it came to the Prime Minister wearing it himself.
For sure. I mean, it's a tough world, isn't it? It's a tough world that we live in, and the judgment is real. Not only do we have the haram police within our Muslim community, which can be quite harsh at the best of times, then we've got wider society constantly judging, constantly trying to ban the face veil or the hijab even. I think France has recently, they've gone forward, not just the face veil and the burkini, they're now trying to ban the hijab from schools and universities. So it's such an unfortunate situation, and politically it matters. I was recently asked a question: would you ever go into politics? Is that something that you've ever considered? Because you are quite vocal within our community, within local politics. You've got very many friends who are councillors, etc. Is that something you think would be important for you to get involved in?
From personally, as politics, it always interests me, but not just interests me. Also, I understand that politics impacts the growth of the community itself, because whoever puts these laws and guidelines down, it impacts all of us collectively together. So it's important on a local level. We should be involved in politics. We can't just be sitting down and saying, "Oh, they've raised up the council tax again," or "they've done this," or "they're not doing that." If we're only just sitting, we need to be proactive, and it's quite, in the sense, it's sunnah to be proactive within our communities. Personally, I wouldn't be standing up as a councillor or an MP. It doesn't match the environment and the culture, or sometimes even the party's ethics and values don't match with mine. And for me, I'm not going to risk my iman, my deen, for something that's dunya. But Allah has given me another path with my studies and things like that. And with the platform I have, is to still be part of politics, but without being in politics, particularly. And it's just about raising issues, raising awareness, and being proactive within our communities, and hopefully allowing our communities to develop and grow. And I encourage, it doesn't have to be on a national level, just on a local level, start, being involved with the politics, and just start raising awareness that matters to all of us, because it impacts the most vulnerable people in our society.
I mean, with that, how important is activism to you? I mean, raising an awareness about things. Do you think more people should be doing that? Do we, do we need more sisters coming forward? Do you think things have changed for the better, or is it getting tougher?
Alhamdulillah, things are changing. They are getting better, but we're not there yet. There are more sisters who are in activism, but we need more sisters. You can never have enough. It's not even sisters, even brothers. Also, activism literally runs in my blood. I think it's just been me. I think that's how a lot of people perceive me, as that now. And the challenge is not one person or a group or an organization is going to change things overnight or even 10 years. We need the whole community to be part of activism and to be part of the community. That's part of the sunnah, right? In our little ways, in our small, consistent ways, if we do that, then inshallah there will be more barakah in our communities and we'll be able to, as a community, achieve more.
For sure. I mean, it's about unity as well, isn't it? What we can only say it as much as we can, and we are stronger together. We have to work together as a collective. So it's super important, I think, for us all to work together, raising a voice together. Like you mentioned, the brothers as well, they are allies. Whether it's a religious issue, whether it's a civic issue, whether it's any issue, if we're working together, I think that's the best way to go forward. So tell me, with the France niqab ban, do you ever worry here in the UK? Do you think things could change? How do you feel Islamophobia has affected the UK? Is that getting worse?
I think with our activism, it's actually given us a platform to speak out more. Yes, I do worry at times, when they try to put limits on our freedom of speech and things, our wearing, and what we wear and, what we practice and that kind of mentality. It grows and then it decreases at times. But if that's why activism is important, because if we stay quiet for too long, the far right will grow. That's why we have organizations like World Hijab Day, like MEND, Cage, so forth, right? Trying to not just challenge those ideologies, but make the changes on a political level too, to ensure that it never comes to where France is. And unfortunately, with France, if you look at it, they're very Islamophobic. That's how it is. They see Islam as a threat instead of it, accepting the people that have come into their country, right, and who've developed the country further. It actually comes to a point that France has gone back in its old ways of colonization, right, and kind of restricting people's freedom of their religion, unfortunately, because they feel it's a threat. When in reality, if you look at all the other countries around the world, when you accept Muslims in your community and when you accept what they practice, and obviously we know that Islam is all about peace and unity, right, and helping one another out, regardless of your religion, faith, right, the impact it has on the country on an economical scale, on a social scale, on a health sector scale, it goes up. And we can't deny that. But if you deny the people who live in your country, who contribute to your society, to the society, our society, what do you expect going to happen? And you punish them for it, they're either going to pack up or leave, or they may, cause a bit of disagreements.
So, I mean, it's like we've mentioned, isn't it? It's a tough society. Do you feel media has played quite a role in the negative portrayal of Muslims and, women who choose to wear the hijab? Because unfortunately, I mean, as it stands, if we look at stats, for example, there is a much smaller fraction of Muslim women who choose to wear the face veil. But, France, places like France and other places around, Europe and the world have made a big point about banning the face veil. Hijab is also banned in, several countries around Europe and around the world. Women aren't allowed to choose. Young girls are not allowed to choose to wear the hijab. It's quite a big, almost attack on, the faith of Muslim women. What do you make of that? Is that quite crazy to you? Like, what can you do?
It's kind of hypocritical because they speak of freedom, they assume that we're oppressed, but when we choose to wear something that we feel spiritually will bring us close to God, it doesn't harm anyone. As you can see in the pandemic time, during the pandemic, is that everyone wearing a mask, it didn't really have an negative impact on their communication. So why are we being oppressed? Why are you oppressing us for not allowing us to practice our religion? It's not harming anyone. It's not harming ourselves. We're completely fine. We're growing as Muslim women, going into different sectors, right? This is not going to stop our growth. So give us a more valid reason than being very hypocritical with your theories. And media definitely has, made its place of making Muslim women the most vulnerable and oppressed. If you've seen, and I'm sure in the UK, our sisters have noticed with media throughout the whole pandemic, they've always only shown pictures of Muslim women with hijab or niqab on their newspapers, on their media stations. And one thing I love about social media is that we're able to dissect them and we're able to pressurize them and say why that article has nothing got to do with Muslim women, right? It's completely off topic. Why do you have a picture of us? Why are you putting us in a negative portrayal? And they will continue to do so until we create our own platforms, our own media forms, and able to lambast and hold them accountable and give and deliver the ethical news, right? And journalism at times is not ethical at all. There are journalists, I'm not saying all journalists, but there are journalists who just are in it for the numbers. They want listeners, they want to cause a bit of a stir, and that stir will only come by putting us on a negative platform.
So, I mean, this is where it comes, isn't it? On social media, it's known as clout chasing, or, within media, within newspapers, it's clickbait titles, isn't it? It's definitely, I mean, having had experience with, mainstream media here in the UK, for sure, it's a certain amount pre-scripted. There's definitely an agenda about what they want to say. What I found completely strange was, again, it was to do with COVID and the pandemic. They were constantly, and not often do we get portrayed in the media as Muslims, right? We're not we're not the biggest chunk of the, UK population. But when it came to COVID and the negative portrayal of that, we were there. They were showing Muslim women on front pages, to do with COVID. And social distancing, for example. But in reality, the masjids, for example, even last Ramadan, they remained closed. They were very strict on social distancing when they did reopen. The Muslim community has actually been quite quick in actual fact, if not early, to follow the guidelines, So I think there's definitely, unfortunately, quite a big problem with media and the negative portrayal. And you're quite right that we do sometimes have to create our own media outlets to sort of push back on that narrative and reclaim the narrative in a more sort of honest and authentic way to us. what the reality is actually, instead of, from we often find even within, for example, mainstream media, the newsroom is full of predominantly non-Muslims, white people who have, who are above a certain age, and this is what we need to sort of change. So do you think, would you encourage people to engage? Again, I know you've said it's important to keep an eye on politics locally. Would you encourage sisters to get involved with media, for example?
Yes, I would, not just with sisters, but also brothers, because each perception has its point. The brothers got their experience, and then sisters have their specific experience, and it's so important. But also to be aware that you're not being used as a form of tokenism, because they tend to say we're very diverse and inclusive, but when you look at it, it's a very small group compared to a small number compared to the whole organization, and that group of people don't tend to go up the ladder of the organization. They don't tend to get promoted. There's still racism and stereotypes, within the organization itself. So you've got to either be very strong and think, yes, journalism I want to go into, to the young ladies and our young sisters who want to get involved. And that is one form of activism. But you've got to make sure your ethics and morals and values are right and strong enough that when anything hits you, you're able to say no to opportunities that may seem like you're going after the money and not bettering the community or the perception of the community.
I think my little input with this conversation would be, it's important to check the media source. If you've been asked for an interview, see, there was a question that I was actually asked as well about, do you think tokenism is a good thing, or do you think where is tokenism and where is representation, right? So for me, I think you should always check out the media that you're about to engage with. I think is really important. And it's important to check out the show, maybe the host, maybe previous shows, the newspaper. If it's the newspaper, then check out newspaper articles. What do the Muslim community, does it offer it credibility, right? So these are things that we need to definitely think about. And I think it is super important to engage with mainstream media, because the more we get into it, even within politics, it's nice to see Muslim women get active in politics or get active in media, because it does offer that sort of opportunity for us to see, hey, she looks just like me. Hey, she's wearing a hijab and she's still doing, such amazing work, and she's highlighting these stories. For example, we had the first hijabi news reporter to hit mainstream TV up in Scotland, Sister Tasneem, which is amazing. So it's like you said, isn't it? It's you want to be a trailblazer. If you're going to wear niqab, you're not going to let it hold you back. What's your experience been? Wearing the niqab, the face veil, and with academic opportunities or work opportunities, do you think it's held you back? And if it has, what have you done about it?
Obviously, most of the workplaces that I worked within was very dominated, Muslim orientated places. But if I was to go into, let's say, journalism, they will have that negative, preconception of me. Even though I can say, been to this uni, I've done this amount of experience, there will be some form of discrimination. And unfortunately, that's the truth. We're not there yet. That's why it's so important to kind of go into different sectors and represent, but ensuring that we also have a, ethics, morals, and values tied in, and strongly. The foundation is strong enough. But for me, I know that if I was to go into something like journalism, I don't think I'll get the opportunity compared to everyone else.
And is that because you choose to wear the face veil, or?
Yeah. That's the unfortunate truth. It's saddening, where there have come, sisters have like decided, and even sisters with hijab, right? They faced work discrimination, and they left that place, their corporate jobs, because they chose to have the hijab, and they knew that the hijab was far more important to them than working for an organization that discriminated. And I feel like it'll be the same for niqabis. And I think there's more lack of opportunities for niqabis to go out there and do more, and go out there to, develop themselves and, work on themselves and, explore different avenues, their growth. So as Muslims, we need to ensure that when we're doing something, it's not just for ourselves, it's for everyone collectively together. So if you're going into media, ensure that, sisters, when you step into that room, or you start working in a place, remind yourself again and again, A, I'm doing it for Allah, and B, it's not just for me. I've opened the door for many others to come through. So I need to ensure whatever happens in this workplace doesn't happen to someone else. Whatever I experience doesn't happen to someone else. And we just got to be that strong enough to support one another and have that kind of community where we feel safe to discuss things that has, happened, but at the same time, able to challenge those discrimination that takes place.
Exactly. So, I mean, I've lost my trail of thought there. I got so lost in that, because it is such an important message to put out there. When you do, experience a bit of success, or you've achieved, you've made a breakthrough within the media or within some sort of, organization. It's absolutely about sharing that experience and sharing how you got there and sharing those tips and, opening the door. Like you said, I love that, actually, opening the door for so many other people to get involved. Lifting each other up. So it's super, super important. Out of interest, here in the UK, we've actually got a couple of, sisters who are niqab wearers, who are quite mainstream. They'll be interviewed on TV channels, and they're quite big on Muslim media stations. Do you know of any, or has it had a positive impact on you? Has it given you confidence? Would you look up to them?
Tell you the truth, yes. That's why representation matters. The first niqabi I've seen, not just on Muslim media stations, also in non-Muslim mainstream media stations, was got to be Sister Naima B. Roberts. May Allah reward her immensely for what she has done. Ameen Ya Rabbal Alameen. That sister has definitely opened the doors. She's the first one. I'm thinking about the reward she's going to get. She's opened the doors for so many other niqabi sisters, because as a young woman, I was restricted with my choices and options as a niqabi, because you can't go into a certain job because you think, oh, I wear a niqab, it won't work there. They won't be acceptive of me, and they, I won't. What are the chances of me getting a job there? So Sister Naima B. Roberts has definitely inspired me, and realized that the only restrictions who's restrictive is me. So as long as within the Sharia, the boundaries of the Sharia, and ensuring that, my ethics values are, strong enough, I realized that you can really go into not anything and everything, literally, but you can go into many sectors wearing the niqab. And now in this society climate we're in, they're going to be very they're going to be acceptive of who I am and my niqab, and not just my skills. So they'll be seeing that, as a woman, we see that her wearing a niqab and she's proud of it, and we want to employ her. Hopefully, inshallah, it'll come to that day.
Inshallah. I mean, I think we can't go forward without mentioning, of course, Sister Sahar Al-Faifi as well, from Wales, who is, in this article, she's described as the niqab-wearing skydiving activist and campaigner. And of course, she's going into politics. She's from Wales. again, even smaller Muslim community, in Wales, and she's actually a faith veil wearing sister who's doing some amazing work. And it's I think, alhamdulillah, it's so nice to see Muslim women doing active public things. I've, alhamdulillah, had the chance to meet even Sister Dalia Mujahid, former advisor to Barack Obama. Sister Yasmin Mujahid, she's on a global international platform, inspiring and empowering Muslim women as well. Some amazing ladies that we've got. And I think, when we're talking about representation, for sure, every single one of us should be out there, because like you've said, we've all got a voice. Even though I do think one of the things that I read somewhere about sisters who wear niqab, the assumption is that they don't speak English. That's crazy to me. So it's nice to have somebody share their experience, with us. What's your favorite thing about wearing the niqab? What's your favorite thing?
Oh, it's got to be when someone's like, I don't know. It's got to be many things. I think you just can't see the bottom half, so you don't have to wear the makeup or anything like that, and it's like getting out of bed. You don't have to put, obviously you should brush your hair, but no one's gonna look at your hair. You put the hijab on. For us, it's like, oh, the makeup's not on. It's okay. I'm good. The niqab's gonna do it for me, and you don't put that much emphasis on pleasing others, on how you look like. It becomes more of, I wear makeup because it's for me and not for anyone else, and that kind of changes your perception towards that. I think the funniest thing has got to be when I'm eating outside. I am just such a clumsiest person when it comes to eating. The food is literally, it's down. Is everywhere, and I have to do a couple of trips to the bathroom and wash my niqab off and just check everything's okay.
Oh, bless you. I mean, for me, I think, this whole question around, face veil within our community. Do you have a message for sisters who want to wear it, or who perhaps are thinking, oh my God, can I deal with the backlash, or any worries? What worries did you have when you've been wearing it since you were quite young? What kind of worries did you have, and what would you advise sisters who might want to try wearing the niqab?
I think it's having that conversation with the family first. For me, I didn't have that conversation. I just put it on, and I made dua to Allah to protect me and just to give me the strength to keep it on for the rest of my life. And alhamdulillah, that dua, I believe, has been accepted. But if you're thinking about wearing niqab, it is a huge responsibility, right? It's something you can't just put it on and then off, right? It's not something of a form of experiment. If you're feeling comfortable that, okay, let me try it on for a week or two. And many of us have already tried the niqab on in somewhat form now during the pandemic. So you get an idea of how a niqab is. And obviously our one's a bit looser than the masks. So it gives you an idea of whether you're comfortable being consistently wearing a niqab. Another thing is kind of speaking to your family about it. Some parents will not willing to accept it and will not probably understand. So it's about educating. So before you dive into the deep end pool, side by side of pool, so ease yourself in, all right? And then what happens is that it's educating yourself, and then the information you have given, right, or learned, is that you do it, pass it on to your family and friends, and inshallah, through time, they become very supportive. They see when you go out, it's like you become the ambassador. We're all ambassador of Islam, of the deen, technically. So when you go out and wear the niqab, you're representing us niqabis who are, we're a minority within the minority. So it's educating and showing that, you know what, we're still the same. We're still the same person. Haven't changed. The only difference is I cover my face. That is literally it. I am the same person.
And out of interest, I mean, you've said that you had quite a bit of a negative sort of reaction from the Muslim community within the Muslim community. What about when it comes to things like, marriage or, do you think it holds you back in that aspect, or do you think are Muslim brothers more interested if you wear the niqab, or vice versa? What's the situation with that?
I think it kind of, the experiences are being different. There are brothers who don't want to niqabi, and that's completely fine. That's their preference of it all. But there are brothers who want to know more about the niqab, the story behind it, and it's about educating again, right? And they become more understanding, and then they don't judge you based on the niqab itself. They judge you as a person. And sometimes it comes to a point where brothers are like, I'm the first niqabi, right? That they probably have met or discussed with, and it enlightens them, even though things may not have gone forward or such as, but it gives them the opportunity to understand who a niqabi is, not what, because it's not based on the niqab itself. It's just like everyone else, as a niqabi, we all face the dilemma of finding a rishta, a proposal. So we have the same obstacles, challenges, and opportunities just as everyone else. Is again, the only thing is if someone prefers us with the niqab or not. That's their preference, and we move on, and we focus on ourselves. That's it.
There's such a heavy focus. We do unfortunately live in such a superficial society. There's a heavy, focus on, the face, makeup, contouring, and, all of this. And a lot of the times girls can spend a lot of time doing that. I have to admit, if I was to go through the YouTube, the very many millions of YouTube makeup tutorials, on how to do that. Now girls as young as 10, 11, 12 are looking like, like a Barbie version of, themselves. I mean, what do you make of that? And how do you think there's a way of, empowering them and maybe sharing your message with them that actually, it's not all about 24/7 looking like what the magazines are showing you?
I think social media has to be taken responsible for that. The insecurities that come out of it, the mental health that has come out of it, the influencers have to take responsibility towards that and understand that most of their viewers are definitely going to be under the age of 18, right? And they're watching you wearing makeup, and you need to educate them that makeup is, yes, for you, but it's also good to be natural, right? It empowers you, but it only can empower you if you're comfortable in your own skin. It cannot be used as
it's not to cover up. I think what I'm trying to say almost is it's a shame that we've got to a point where there's such a big focus on this. Almost it's like you said, isn't it? For us, when we were growing up, makeup is it's for special occasions, or it's for something, it's for an event, or it's for, I don't know, like for a TV interview or something, right? It's not for all the time, every day. A lot of the time, sisters who are really strong and confident and empowered tend to be the ones that don't wear makeup unless they have to, right? It's part of almost being professional, but unfortunately what's happened because of social media and because of the emphasis on magazines and young girls and do this and do that, I think that there has become too much of a pressure, and it affects them negatively. The self-esteem actually is lower and lower and lower. It doesn't matter how well you can do your contour and your highlighting, and I don't know. I don't even know what translucent powder is, but I think that's a thing as well. And it's crazy. What message would you have for young girls watching right now? With regards to that?
It's first and foremost, I always say this, is love yourself as who you are. It's understanding that makeup is going to be there, but your skin and your features are the elements that makes you. And if you don't love yourself, then who will love you as much as you, right? It's understanding that, being comfortable and confident within yourself, that, makeup is an add-on, right? And this is such a huge responsibility that you got to make, not just for yourself now, but for who you will be in the future, right? Because in 10 years' time, down the line, you're going to be like, wow, I wish to love myself more. I wish I ran in the rain more, or I got dirty more, and I didn't take attention on what eyeshadow or eye color, or did it match my outfit, or what lip color matched what. It's making memories of your youth, because once that's gone, it literally is gone. Time won't come back. So make time for yourself in that sense.
Focus on that. And I mean, I think the reason I ask as well, because for me as a sister, you choose to wear the face veil, you have to be a certain amount of confident and empowered and strong to, ignore the negativity perhaps you get online, or, from within the community. Would you consider yourself quite confident and, uncaring of what societal norms of beauty are?
As a young kid, because of how we grew up, had a huge impact on my self-esteem. Obviously, where I am now, I'm confident. But if I was to say 10 years or more ago, I wasn't confident. But in the sense of, I didn't really invest so much of makeup time on myself. I was investing on myself as a person, to a point that it helped me stay strong when, such as organizations like EDL groups, groups like EDL and the far right were marching, and, they were growing, and the fear of, people saying, stay home, stay safe, don't go out if you wear the hijab and niqab. And there were times, but you know what, there were sometimes I was like, I'm not going to allow them oppress me for wearing the niqab. I am going to go out, I'm going to have a normal day. And because of the way I grew up and things that impacted me in the environment and the society not having that much of a pressure, I was able to be confident. If I was growing up now in this time, I don't even know if I would be wearing niqab. The pressure of being, wearing makeup all the time, being in a certain body type, wearing certain things in a certain way, fashionable, would have definitely consumed me.
For sure. I think it's always a tough one, isn't it? When it comes to girls and women, I think there's a lot of societal pressures we have to push back to. But alhamdulillah, it's I can't believe we've already come to the end of the show. Would you believe? It's been such a pleasure talking to you. I know you do some amazing work within the community with, vulnerable sisters, and you're always, trying your best to do, even through workshops, through your social media posts, empowering women and, the sisters and the brothers alike as well. I love the fact that you're so diplomatic on, uniting, even when there's a little bit of a rift or a, to and fro from the brothers and sisters, because we know about these social media posts, right? We know how Facebook can get quite heated at times, but alhamdulillah, it's been a pleasure speaking to you. If you want to leave with any sort of final message to our viewers, inshallah, please do.
Jazakallah khair for having me on, and it's been a humble, and I'm honored to be on here on such a beautiful platform. To the sisters, young, old, I'm always going to say this, is invest in yourself. The more you invest in yourself, the more you're going to invest in the community. The reason why we need to make the necessary changes, it's going to be a forever cycle until a point where this cycle will become more vicious than it is now. And it's so important that we work not just with ourselves within the community, but with the brothers, and we encourage one another to do good, and hopefully, challenge those who don't want us to grow, and challenge those who oppress us, and challenge those who want to silence us. And inshallah, through the mercy and rahmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we will come to a point where the community has developed, inshallah.
Inshallah, inshallah. Thank you so much again for taking time out. I love the fact that you've got involved very close with World Hijab Day as well. We need more sisters like you to, you know, share your stories with us. Guys, of course, here at Modesty Table, we want to interview real women, and we have this chance to have a real talk, you know, sort of unfiltered, you know, and amplify voices. And this is what we're trying to do with Modesty Table. Inshallah, I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. This is, you know, I can't remember what number episode, but we've had quite a few interviews which I've thoroughly enjoyed. So please go check them out on the YouTube channel, World Hijab Day YouTube channel. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to it as well. We've got so much more coming. You know, we've got some amazing women that we're going to be interviewing. You know, I'm not sure whether you've come across Sister Tuli, who is like a hijab wearing basketball player. Inshallah, she's on our list. You know, and we've got human rights activists, we've got teachers, we've had authors as well. So inshallah, we're you know, we've even got a MMA fighter who's going to be maybe a hijabi boxer as well. So we're looking forward to having
stuff.
so many sisters join us, inshallah. So please do support. If you've got any questions, leave them down in the comments. If you want to connect to us, please do as well. World Hijab Day, of course, is a global initiative, and alhamdulillah, we've reached nearly 190 countries, it's estimated, and we have ambassadors all over the world. This initiative is, of course, run with the efforts of our beautiful sisters and brothers who support World Hijab Day. So please continue to do that. Tomorrow, I think I'll be on live on the Facebook, and I'll share some information with you as well. World Hijab Day is going to be supporting a little campaign in the run up to Ramadan, which is not too far away as well. Alhamdulillah, so excited about Ramadan, Sister Thaminah. I'm sure you are as well. And we will have a bit more of a focus on, you know, interviewing sisters who have studied and are alimas and ustadas from around the world as well. So we're excited about that. But guys, stay tuned because there's loads more to come, inshallah. But until next week, Friday, live 6 p.m. EST time, and in UK time that's 11 p.m. So inshallah, until next week, God bless and take care. Assalamu alaikum.